Hello, I'm Jim Roberts. I'm host of Senior Living in Alexandria, and this is the monthly program that we present to seniors, but not just seniors, but family, friends, caregivers, service providers, all those that might have something interesting to say or something interesting to learn about our senior community in Alexandria. This is a function of the Senior Services of Alexandria, and we've got, once again, another exciting and interesting program for you. This is going to be a very interesting session. I'm here with Lindsay Hutter. She is the Marketing and Strategic Director of Goodwin House in Alexandria and in Bailey's Crossroad. But she's going to start us off with something that I think will be of general interest to us all. We're going to get into what Goodwin House does, but first she's got, has put together some pretty interesting thoughts and thinking to summarize maybe the situation and opportunities that are available to us as seniors. So Lindsay, I'm really delighted that you're here today. I'm glad that you're going to bring this perspective and help us learn maybe things we know but maybe need to be re-emphasized about seniors, and then we'll take a break and then we'll come back and hear how Goodwin House in your responsibilities. To start off, let me ask you, how did you get into working with seniors, and how did you get here?
Very unexpectedly, Jim.
As we all have.
So my first association with Goodwin House Incorporated was to serve on the board of Goodwin House at Home. This is a very innovative program that Goodwin House launched, the first in Virginia, one of just a few dozen in the country, that brings a lot of the services that older adults receive in a life plan or retirement community into their home. And this is for older adults that say our preference is to age in our home rather than move into a community. So I served on the board of Goodwin House at Home for 3 years, and it was in that context that the leaders of the organization approached me and said, we're developing a new role, a Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer. First time we've ever had this role in the organization. Would you consider applying for it? My own background is in corporate transformation and corporate communications, and so that was a year ago. We had number of conversations, and I said yes, and it's been an amazing ride since then.
Were you serving as a volunteer in the Goodwin House at Home program?
Yes.
How did you happen to evolve into that?
I was in a volunteer role. All of our board members on our foundation board and the Goodwin House Board of Trustees, volunteer roles. And it was actually a resident of Goodwin House Alexandria who had served with me on the Campagna Center board.
Okay.
And she had suggested to Goodwin House that they might approach me about being on one of their boards.
That sounds like it was a fortunate connection to serve as a volunteer, identify an area of opportunity, and then take the management and organizational responsibility for it. So, and a new position you mentioned.
And a very new position, which is a fascinating position, particularly in 2018 as we have this silver tsunami of baby boomers who are moving into their retirement years. Okay.
So that the traditional way that at least I perceive Goodwin House is quality services and a premier residential. It sounds like you're kind of looking at that, but also what other opportunities might come from. Before we get into that, let's get apparently I mentioned the background you had developed and perspective on some of the issues confronting seniors. And I think you made the point in the conversation that there's some factors that affect seniors now that maybe our viewers might be interested in, generational differences?
Oh, most certainly. And I would say that older adults, and particularly the emerging, as we call it, cohort of older adults, the baby boomers, are really going to affect this industry in profound ways. Let me step back and provide big picture context.
Great, good.
When the senior living and care industry was born, which was really in the 1950s, 1960s, it was serving those that had come out of the Depression, those that were moving from a greatest generation into their retirement years. And that was the greatest generation. Their values, their experiences were formed out of World War II and the Depression. They want stability, they want predictability in their lives. And so this industry was born out of what I call a need-based constituency. Love to have a community where we can live and be cared for, particularly if we don't have family members in the area. So it was built for that cohort, that demographic. The silent generation which followed, very similar in their attitudes and outlooks. Then you have the baby boomers, who really have been disruptive in very profound and good ways all through their lives. So we now have a disruptive generation who's less need-based, much more want-based. They want choice, and they want variety, and they want it now. So the industry was built really for a customer that wanted kind of a predictable path into their retirement. Boomers are going to shatter all our preconditions about retirement. Let me quantify now the impact. The greatest generation was 62 million in number. The silent generation, which followed, was 48 million. Baby boomers number 77 million. So the senior living and care industry has a very large consumer base that's coming at us and is quite different than their parents and their aunts and uncles.
And the desires for housing and services among that boomer generation, how would you characterize that?
80% of baby boomers say that they want to live in their home or some type of home environment. Remember, this is the generation that in the 60s, the beatniks, bohemia, group living. So we actually see that there are a variety of different concepts that boomers are willing to explore and will explore as they age. Many of them will want to move into life plan or retirement communities because they'll want all of those services available to them conveniently.
Okay. And then what are their expectations of that? I mean, what sounds like they want what the rest of us want, a quality of life, but how would you break that down in terms of some of the particular things they're hunting for?
Oh my goodness. They have grown up in an era where they had many more choices in restaurants, many more choices in amenities. Think about when someone grew up in the 1940s or 50s, or even 1930s. They had Converse tennis shoes, maybe in red, maybe in black. When the boomers grew up, you'd walk into a fitness store and there would be dozens of different tennis shoes that you could select from. So they've had this choice opportunity that they've grown up with all their lives. And so they look at a retirement community or a life plan community and say, how many dining venues do you have? Tell me about all of your fitness programs. What are all of the different life enrichment and cultural programs that you have for me to choose from?
So that sets up this demand schedule that's widely varied, highly personalized, individualized, and then the task then becomes, how can you meet all those different points of demand in an effective way? Is that
That's a great
that's
question.
the business test. I'm not sure
That
what
is
the
a
social test might be.
That's a great business question, and I'd like to layer one other business consideration into this. The baby boomers have not prepared for their retirement the way their parents and their aunts and uncles prepared. They've not invested in long-term care. They've tended not to save as much as their parents and their aunts and uncles did. And many of them did not have the benefit of pension programs.
Okay.
As our retirement model in society moved from pension programs to 401k, more of the burden fell on the individual rather than the employer. So boomers enter their retirement proportionately disadvantaged to their parents and their aunts and uncles.
Okay.
So that also forces some questions on them about how they will transition into their retirement years.
We have to go to a break. We're going to have a cooking demonstration in a few minutes. So save that thought. Now, when we come back, I want to get down into what that led to in alternative approaches, that models for housing. And then I really want to be sure and get the opportunity to see how Goodwin has sorted this out and what others may be doing. So hang on, we'll be right back.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah. Well, it's time for one of our favorite parts of senior living in Alexandria. I'm here with Madison Reeder. She's professionally with a dietitian with the PACE program at Inova Hospital, but she's just our wonderful chef that comes every month and tells seniors and everybody else wonderful recipes. Every one of them is outstanding. Well, it's the month of July, and Madison, it's hot out, and people are having picnics, and they're maybe sweating and having a terrible time. So we need something really, really special for hot weather for the summer. What do you have for us this month?
So today we are making banana split nice cream.
Nice cream?
Nice cream.
In this world, we need nice cream. That's great.
Absolutely. So we're going to make a healthier version of a summertime classic, which is ice cream. So we're going to make this with just 3 simple ingredients, and what's great about it is it's no fat, no added sugars, and it's great for people who are lactose intolerant or lactose sensitive.
No ice cream without cream,
Absolutely.
and it's nice.
Absolutely.
I can't wait.
All right.
What are we going to do to get started?
So this is one of the easiest recipes that I've ever made anything with. There's just 3 simple things. We have bananas, we have vanilla extract, and cocoa powder. That's all there is to it. The first step is something that needs to be done a little bit ahead of time though. So what you want to do is you want to take some ripe bananas. So when they start to get those little black freckles on them, that's when they're pretty ripe, and that's when you want to use them for this, when they're the most sweet.
They have more character.
More character.
Bananas with character.
Yes, and
All right.
more sugar too.
Oh,
so
good.
you want to take those and peel them.
Okay.
Fully peel them, and then chop them into 1 to 2 inch chunks
Okay.
and freeze them. You can just freeze them in a plastic bag, so they need to be completely frozen for this to be nice
So if they
cream.
turn brown or whatever, it won't matter because we're going to put them into the recipe, into the nice
Absolutely.
recipe.
Absolutely, and that won't
Okay.
change the flavor or anything. They will change colors as you can see here, but that won't affect it. So then,
Solid frozen? Or
Solid.
So, oh, okay.
yep, completely
Solid,
frozen
all right,
solid.
all right.
So then what we're gonna do is we're gonna add those into our blender or a food processor.
Okay.
So this recipe is for a single serving. You could always double it, triple it for more.
How many, is that 1 banana?
That's about 2 bananas.
2 bananas.
Two bananas.
2 bananas.
Yep.
Okay.
So then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some cocoa powder.
Okay.
More if you want it more chocolatey, less if you want less.
Okay.
We're going to just add about 2 tablespoons of that.
All right.
Very simple. And then we're going to add some vanilla extract.
Yeah.
About 1/4 teaspoon. So
No,
just
no
a
sugar,
little
no
bit.
milk.
Nope, no sugar,
Whoa.
no milk. It's just a little bit of vanilla.
The ice cream world is shaking in its boots.
Yes, it certainly is. And this is great because bananas are filled with vitamins and minerals,
yeah.
loaded with potassium, which is great for our health. It has no fat, no cholesterol, and it's all natural sugars. So that's really great for our seniors and all of us, really. So what we're going to do
It's a
next?
self-contained food.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Portable.
We're going to turn our blender on,
Yeah.
our blender or food processor, and then you're going to just blend it up for a couple of seconds.
Okay.
You ready? Cover
Yeah.
your
Oh,
ears.
yeah.
Now we'll take a quick look and see how it's turning out so far. So as you can see, I'll take
Got
it off.
this nice slushy kind of.
Yes, it's got a nice
Oh, yeah,
slushy
look at that.
texture to it.
That was easy.
It was extremely easy. So I'm going to take this spoon we used, just kind of scrape the sides off just a
Got it.
touch, push some of it down, and then we'll blend it one more time just to make sure that it's
Got a little
nice and
cocoa
creamy.
on the spindle there.
Yes. Let's grab some of that off as well. Perfect.
So 2 bananas, cocoa, and vanilla,
Absolutely, that's all that
and a
there is.
blender.
Yes. We'll give
This
it one
is too
more.
easy, yeah.
One more quick blend.
It's already a little cold
Mm-hmm.
because of the bananas. All right.
And that's all there is to it. So the next step that you're going to want to take here when it's all well blended, nice and smooth, you can see how smooth it is here.
Mm-hmm.
You'll scrape that out into a bowl. Make sure that the bowl you put it in is a freezer safe container.
Oh,
and you're
good.
going to want to cover that. Leave it set for an hour before you dig into it. So once it's set for an hour, it'll look more like this.
Wow.
A little bit thicker, a little bit more like
Okay.
traditional ice cream. And you can keep this in your freezer for up to 3 months.
With the, it won't last 3 months in my house.
It
About
certainly
3
will not.
days, I think, is about it.
It
Okay.
certainly will not.
3 months.
So I would like you to give this a try and let me know what
we
you
should
think
we should do that here.
compared to a traditional ice cream.
Okay.
So it does look very similar, as you can see. A question I get the most about a recipe like this is, does it taste like bananas? And it does. The more cocoa you add to it, the less it will taste like bananas.
Give
So
you-
if that's something that you're not a fan of, adding more cocoa can certainly help with that.
What do you think?
All right, I think we should
Chocolate
give it a
and
try.
bananas in the same bananas, but nice.
Yes.
Okay. Nice. Very nice.
What do you think?
That's very good.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not the consistency of ice cream because of the fat and the the mouthfeel.
Exactly.
But it's very tasty.
Thank you.
You may want to have this as your entree and and then dessert.
And then have dessert thereafter.
I think, I need another bite.
Another spoonful to make sure that it's
Mm.
okay. This is a great option for those of us who have a really hard time making sure we get enough fruits and vegetables into our diets. A lot of people ask me, what kind of healthy desserts can I have that are going to be delicious but also nourish me? And this is a great example
For the
of that.
lactose intolerant people, since it doesn't have any, have you ever tried it with other flavors like fruit or something else?
Absolutely. Yes, at the
Would have the
Pace
same
Center,
no sugar, no lactose?
Absolutely. At the Pace Center, we make this all different ways. I've made it for my seniors there, and they love it. We've made a strawberry one. We've made
Ooh.
an apple crisp one.
Ooh.
So using, instead of the cocoa powder, adding some apple butter in and mixing that and a little bit of cinnamon. That's a
So what
favorite.
are you doing later today?
Maybe we'll be making some more
No,
ice
that's
cream.
good. No, they're lucky at your senior center. That's very good.
Oh, well, thank you
You're gonna
very much.
You want another bite?
I would love
I
another bite.
recommend it.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
This
I would
is
love
nice.
another bite.
Just to,
Well, thank you. And thank you very much for having me.
That's
I
very-
really do appreciate
that's
it.
good for summer.
Yes, delicious for
Yeah,
summer.
all
Perfect
right.
for these hot summer days
Well,
we're having.
Madison's done it again. She's done it again. We've got another superb, easy to make dish. We always talk about healthy fats. That I don't think that's really very much fat.
None at all.
And no lactose, and it's just good. And how easy could it be? How easy could it be? We'll see you next month.
Absolutely.
Another
Next month.
another exciting adventure in the food world.
Very.
Good.
Very.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, we're back, and we want to continue our discussion with Lindsay Hutter. She's the Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer at Goodwin House in Alexandria and Bailey's Crossroad in Alexandria, and we're exploring some of the high-level thoughts that she has in terms of seniors, their trends, what's affecting them in housing. Where we left off, we wanted to ask the question, what are some of the alternative ways that seniors arrange for their housing and services? What's out there?
There's a lot out there, and sometimes it can be very confusing to older adults and their families to really try to navigate the opportunities that are there for them, whether they want to move into a retirement community or they want to stay in their home. It's really considered a very fragmented model, Jim, and that's because there are so many different types of living arrangements and care arrangements for older adults. And also, people tend to approach it not several years in advance, planning ahead, but often they find themselves needing a solution, and then they very have to quickly understand what the options are. And that can be challenging for old adults and their loved ones when it is a health event that may have come up pretty quickly and impose the urgency on them. But let me define for you what are the different options that are there. There are residential living options, and that's for older adults who are going to move into what could be almost like a condo for older adults, and it's purely residential living. They might have common amenities, common dining rooms, fitness centers, and so forth, libraries. Then there are standalone assisted living facilities, and these are communities for older adults who need some general assistance with their activities of daily living. There are also dedicated memory support communities, and then skilled nursing or long-term care facilities. There are some organizations, like Goodwin House Incorporated, which have what are called life plan communities. They're sometimes known as continuing care retirement
Okay.
communities. And that's where we have all of those different levels of living in one campus. So people can enter our community in residential living, which is independent living, avail themselves of all of the amenities that we have on campus, and as and if their needs change, and they may need assistance with daily living, or they may need memory care support, they will stay within our campus and move to different levels of care.
You had mentioned earlier the traditional and maybe prevailing model to stay at home, which means you have to, you try as best as you can stay at home, but all the services you outlined that might be delivered in a collaborative or community have, if they need them, have to be organized and delivered to the home, such as Meals on Wheels or, you know, any number of others. So, but what that means is you've got varying housing models, but also service delivery models, and we've got a large smorgasbord of things that we don't make very good choices about. You know, I'm not sure we do good funeral planning, estate planning. I'm certain maybe we haven't thought through what our housing options if such and such and such happens. So I think that's part of what you have to deal with and provide as a senior providing this. Oh, go ahead.
An observation that I would make is that there are some wonderful community-based organizations, and Senior Services of
Okay.
Alexandria,
Okay.
top of that list. Their Meals on Wheels programs are so helpful to older adults that want or may need to stay in their home for a variety of different reasons as they age. Where the challenges enter is when the coordination of those needs becomes so great that loved ones or family members
Yeah.
are struggling, even though their heart is there, they're struggling to be able to help with that coordination. That's why we developed Goodwin House at Home in 2014.
Okay.
We have professionals who can come in and help coordinate even home care. And by home, I mean maybe there are repairs that are needed for the home. Maybe an electrician needs to be called or a plumber. And our member services facilitators will coordinate all of that care for the home environment as well as for the older adult.
Did Goodwin House, there are others that do that. Did Goodwin House do that because those needs were not being met, or the organizations that do that were insufficient to the need, or it was an opportunity to broaden the base of Goodwin House and you had excess capacity, or all of those or none of those? How did Goodwin House get into the at-home business?
Goodwin House innovated our at-home program because we have a vision, which is to expand the ways and places we serve older adults.
Okay.
When we were founded in 1967, our founders really sought to reimagine aging. And that is a calling that we have as a nonprofit, faith-based organization to step into every year and say, are there other ways that we should be helping older adults? Goodwin House at Home was born out of that vision and our mission to support, honor, and uplift the lives of older adults and those who care for them.
So you got away from a facility-focused organization. You still are. And you
Yes.
still have two facilities that are wonderful places to live. We both shared knowledge of people that we know that are moving there and or wish to if the timing becomes appropriate. But it changes the model a little bit. Does it worry you that others are competitive maybe or doing the same thing, or there's just such outrageous demand that given all the resources in the world, you still couldn't effectively solve that?
Well, I go back to our mission. Our mission is to support, honor, and uplift the lives of older adults.
Okay.
Our mission is not to beat out our competitors. So we're very mission-based in our focus, and we recognize that with the silver tsunami of 77 million older adults and a desire to continue reimagining aging, that it's going to take a lot of different players in the system to reach out and help all of the older adults in our country and their loved ones.
Before we're going to run out of time, but I do want to get into the knowledge that the basic, original, traditional form of Goodwin House, if a person were to be there, what would they expect by way of service delivery? Social services, medical services, life,
gosh.
et cetera.
I'm going to use the words of our residents. We just celebrated our 50th anniversary
Okay.
in 2017. And we ask our residents to answer this question. In one word, how would you describe Goodwin House?
Oh, goodness.
And the words were community, opportunity, compassion, friendship. Those are the words that I would use to describe Goodwin House. One even
didn't
said
say
home.
housing or medical or, the gym.
People
or,
want to belong.
Yeah.
They want to belong. They know they're going to be cared for by friends, looked after by friends, cared for by the employees and the management of an organization. So first and foremost, I think it's emotional. And then, yes, there are the very tangible benefits and amenities that they receive. So you receive your own apartment, and you may select. You may say, we would like a larger apartment if it's a couple or a single, or we'd like a one-bedroom apartment.
Mm-hmm.
You have access to all of the dining venues and restaurants on campus, all the common areas, the courtyards, our gardens, libraries, fitness center, swimming pools. So a rich assortment of amenities for very active lives.
One last question. Before you were put in the position of Chief Marketing and Strategic Officer, were these things kind of loosely thought about and aspired to, or this is really a new mission and therefore a fulfillment of it by virtue of your position? Is this something new for Goodwin House?
Well, I would say the absolute passion about stepping into our vision to expand the ways and places we serve older adults, that's not new. We've had it since our founders had the concept for Goodwin House in 1967. So we're actually into the next generations of a commitment to be innovative and really reimagine aging for whatever it may be in 2018 and 2030 and the years to come.
Well, we're out of time, but I want to observe that this is good for me to know, and I hope others, that we've had this image for a long time in this community of what Goodwin House is, and I think you've been very, very good at explaining an expansive vision, and I think that's something that maybe people need to realize and know. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for telling us about seniors and refreshing our memory on some of the issues that confront them, but also what Goodwin House, what its slice in effectively dealing with that is. So thank you very much.
Thank you very
And
much,
it's been
Jim.
a pleasure to have you with us.